Okay, so let's start off by asking you all a question. Does everybody here know what osteoporosis is? Everybody? Okay, you have a pretty good feel for that. I'm going to throw a few terms out to you. By the way, I wrote a book called Bone Health Made Easy. A good job of that. You got to tell me, okay? Because I'm going to try to make a lot of terms easier for you to understand. I'm going to try to make the issue at large a lot easier to master. Okay, so it's all about making it easy. Let's start with the terms. You all know what osteoporosis is. Maybe you don't know this, but it means porous bones in Latin. That's all it means. This means porous bones. And we kind of gave it a definition. We gave it meaning to make it relevant for people. Okay? Because there are a lot of different ways you can define it. Well, let's pause for a second. Let's go to another term. Osteopenia. Who wants to tell me what osteopenia is? Anybody? Okay. Well, let's use colors. Everybody knows green's good and red's bad, right? If we're going to test you and we're going to assess your risk level, and you're going to end up in the green, yellow, or red, we know that red is bad and green is good, right? Well, yellow, we all know what that means because when we drive our car through an intersection, we know that green means low level of risk driving through that intersection at the time. But on the other hand, if it's red, if the light is red, you have a high level of risk driving through that intersection at that given time, right? So then what does yellow mean? It means you speed up and get through the intersection? No. It means what?
Caution. Caution.
Caution. Anybody else?
Slow down.
Slow down. You could also say moderate risk, right? You could say moderate risk. A lot of people want to say that it's pre-osteoporosis. I don't like that term because that kind of suggests that you're getting ready to get osteoporosis. But the people I work with don't go down, they get better. So if it means almost bad, it also means almost good. So if it means almost good and almost bad, then basically all it means is almost. And I promise you that's all it means. We're trying to get rid of that word. It confuses people. It's a long word that sounds a little bit like a diagnosis, doesn't it? Osteopenia. Maybe to better suggest that you might need a medication for that word. Okay? All right. So we're not supposed to use that word anymore. It just confuses people. It just means yellow. What's that?
Throw the word out.
Yeah, get rid of it. Now that I've taught you what it is, forget about it. You don't have to know it anymore. All right? So now you know what that word means. So how about osteoarthritis? Because people always get that mixed up with osteoporosis and osteopenia. What is osteoarthritis? Or let me ask you it this way. What's the difference between osteoarthritis and those other things? Anybody? Well, I'll put it in this way. Osteoarthritis you feel, but it won't kill you. No matter how much of it you have, it'll never do you in. Okay? But in those two ways, where you feel it, and yet it won't kill you, in those two ways, it's the opposite of osteoporosis and osteopenia. Because I'm going to suggest that you can actually die from osteoporosis. You could become disabled. That's why they call it the killer, or the silent killer, because you don't feel a thing. No matter how low you go, no matter how low you go on the scale, you feel nothing. Okay? So unlike osteoarthritis, where you feel it, but it will never kill you, with osteoporosis, you feel nothing, but it can kill you. How can it kill you? Well, I'll tell you what. Do you know the number of women last year who died because they had osteoporosis outnumbered the number of women who died from breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, and cervical cancer combined? You know that? So let's say that one of us who are over the age of 50 broke our hip today. Statistics would suggest that for those of you today who are over the age of 50 who break their hip, do you know that you have a 24% chance of being dead in the next 12 months because of that? Say it a different way, because 24% is almost like saying 1 in 4. 1 in 4 who break their hip who are over the age of 50 will be gone within the year because of that hip fracture. Okay? That's why they call it the silent killer. So let's say it happened to you, and let's say you are fortunate enough not to die. You'll still have a 75% chance of never fully recovering. I think that's conservative, because everybody I've ever talked to who broke their hip and was around to talk about it, and when I ask the question, are you 100% yet? No. I haven't had anybody tell me that they're 100% yet. I think it's more than 75%. So now you know that you could become dead or disabled from it. Now you know it's a big deal. Now, if you score in the red today, and I'm going to encourage every one of you to get screened today if you haven't already. It takes 2 minutes. I'm going to give you a result you can take to your doctor. There's no radiation. Okay? If you score in the red, you don't fall and break a bone. That's not the way it works. Isn't that typically the way it works? We fall, we break a bone. We broke a bone because we fell. But with osteoporosis, when you're in the red, you don't fall and break a bone. You break a bone and fall. Right? So that starts to explain things that maybe you heard about, maybe an experience you had. You happened to be in that room and that little old lady ended up on the ground. Everybody heard the bone break. No one ever did figure out what it was she tripped on. And some people knew that lady and knew that she happened to have pretty good balance. No one ever figured out what it was, how she broke her hip after she fell. Well, she didn't break her hip after she fell. It's the opposite. Okay? So it should be hard for you to imagine now that you could break a bone and fall. And if you're in that situation, you're in the red, now you're in trouble, right? Because if you break a bone and fall, especially if it's your hip or some of the other bones, you can actually die or become disabled. So that means you're a time bomb, right? You've never tested before. You don't feel anything. You can break a bone without doing very much and ultimately get in big trouble from it. That's kind of like being a time bomb, right? You don't want to be in red. If you're in the red, you got to get the heck out of red at all costs. So what do I suggest that people do? I tell people, throw the kitchen sink at this thing. You need to do everything. Even the things you don't want your bones to be resistant to fracture. You want them to bend and not break. You don't want your bones to be hard, because hard means brittle, and brittle means break. Right? Do you want your bones to be hard? That's what these medicines do. You go way down here, and you've taken these medicines for more than 5 years. By the way, we know this now. We didn't know this before, but nobody should be taking these medicines for more than 5 years. We just didn't know that before. They make your bones super hard until they break. We call it frozen bone syndrome, where people actually start to break their hip because they've been taking the medicine. Okay? We didn't know that before. We also know now that nobody who scores in the green or yellow should be taking these medicines. So the conversation would go like this. Back in the middle 80s when these medicines came out. Well, the doctor says, you know what? We've got these great new medicines out that are going to help people like you who have lower bone density. So I see that you're scoring in the yellow. Tell you what, let's get you out of the yellow and up into the green with this new medicine. They're not supposed to do that. They never were meant to make your bones healthy. They don't really even improve your bone density by any more than 15%. But if you're in the red, that 15% counts, right? Got to at least get out of the red. I like to use the color orange. So if you were to have orange level wrists, you don't see the color orange here, do you? But if you had the color orange here, where would it go? Yes, it would go here. So if you want to use a visual on this, essentially these medicines get you to orange. They get you to weird, odd orange bone. They'll get you a little bit out of the red, which is good, but no farther. So if you're in the green, do you want to go down to orange? No. If you're in the yellow, do you want to go down to orange? No. Okay? The other thing about these medicines is they double your risk for esophageal cancer. They give you frozen bone syndrome. They give you osteonecrosis of the jaw, dead jawbone syndrome, something that we didn't even know existed. They didn't exist until these medicines came out. Okay? Those are bad things. These are bad things that happen if you're on these medicines. But you know what? People in the red, they don't have any choice. Only they can say that the risks are warranted, because they're in more trouble not taking the medicine. Isn't it true that everything you take, every medicine you take, should do you more good than bad? Everything you take, every single person should have you obtaining more benefit than harm. The cost benefit should be in your favor, although it's different for everybody. It's different with every medicine. People in the red, the cost benefit is in their favor taking these nasty medicines because they're in worse trouble without it. They were always meant for those people. They were always meant as an urgent care approach because those people are in an urgent care situation. They're not meant to make your bones healthy because you can't make your bones healthy with chemicals. Okay? But I know that bones are a detoxifier. They grab onto everything. They're trying to grab onto these things, and they will, to the point where it will change their structure and their appearance. So the weirder bones look, the less strong they are, because they're made of something that's not supposed to be there. They're made of something other than what they're supposed to be made of. Does that make sense? Do you know that animals don't get osteoporosis? Even bears that hibernate, that have been sedentary for months on end, don't get osteoporosis. Do you know that there's only one species of animal on this planet that gets osteoporosis, and we're the ones? You're not supposed to get it, too. Human beings aren't supposed to get it. There's reason to believe that we once didn't get it. Is it a part of natural aging? No. It is not a natural part of aging. You are not supposed to get it. So you're going to talk to folks that one camp will say, you know what, this is caused by inflammation. Osteoporosis is caused by inflammation. And another group of people will say, no, 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 it's toxicity. Another group will say, no, no, it's a digestive problem, because 90% of us have a digestive problem. And then another group will say, no, it's hydration, because when bones get brittle, and a lot of the established risk factors for osteoporosis are actually things that dehydrate us. If you take more of those things, our bones get worse. Bone is a dehydration problem, our bones get brittle, and they break. You're going to get all kinds of things from people. So I'm going to make that simple for you too, because it doesn't have multiple causes. It has one cause. So we live in a society now that where we are toxically saturated, we're chronically inflamed, we are badly nourished, we're digestively challenged, we're primarily indoor based, we're relatively inactive, chronically dehydrated, big time meat eating creatures of habit. All that's happening at the same time. So do we have multiple causes? No, we really don't, because all that funnels down, becoming one thing. It all becomes one thing, acid. Okay? So we actually go more acidic when we're under stress. We can have emotional, physical causes, physical stresses that lead to acidity. Why do we go acid? Why does our system need to go acid? Anybody want to help me with that? Because Adam touched on this a little bit. Why do we need to go acid? Why does our system do that? We're attacking. We destroy. We're an attack and destroy method. It's called the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. We are throwing acid at something to destroy it. So that's what our neutrophils do. Our white blood cells, our enzymes that come from our white blood cells, will throw things on things, will throw acidity, enzymes on things in order to destroy them. They have a low pH, they are acidic. We use acid to destroy. You can make a case for that's why we have problems with cholesterol, which is wax that insulates us against ourselves, against our own responses. So cholesterol being wax is our own defense mechanism to insulate us against that. But I do know that all those things that seem to be a cause for osteoporosis all lead to an acid state. So this is the acid state funnel. It all funnels down to acid, and that's what osteoporosis is. In fact, it also pertains to gout. Gout is an acid state. Cancer is acid. Rheumatoid arthritis, I could go on and on, but osteoporosis is on the top of the list. It's acid, acid, acid. And all the things we're going to suggest that you do are going to be to relax your system or put it into a harmonious state where your body goes to a higher pH. It alkalinizes, where it can repair, where it can regenerate. Okay? Let's say that you create an acid state from any one of those causes. Your body now needs to offset it, needs to buffer it, because your body won't let it destroy itself. It always throws something out after that to protect itself. So what do you suppose the body has to do? Now lower the pH in your body, you create an acidic blood, because you now needed to attack meat or toxins or something that came into your body that your body is not in harmony with. Your body has to attack it, it's now going acidic. But our body won't let the pH vary very much in its bloodstream. It won't let itself attack itself. It's going to buffer it. It's going to buffer it immediately. What does the body do? What does it throw at that immediately in order to eliminate the acid? I'll give you a hint. What about your stomach? If your stomach goes acidic, and we have to neutralize that, what's in our antacid?
Enzymes?
No. Calcium. Minerals. You know, what makes water taste good, what makes water alkaline, and the pH to go up, are always minerals, and calcium is usually one of them. Our body makes Tums. Our body comes out in the bloodstream, which is almost all calcium. So if your body has to throw calcium, all these things that are causing acid, and it keeps throwing calcium at it, where do you suppose that calcium is coming from? Coming from your bones. Do you know we've done hair tissue mineral analyses on a large population of Americans, and you know what we found out? We found out that Americans have a lot of calcium in us. We have a lot of calcium. So what do you suppose is going on? do you think we really think we have a calcium deficiency, or do you think maybe we have a calcium imbalance?
We're acidic.
We're acidic, and we're making Tums all the time, we're making calcium when certain organs are withdrawing from the bank. Our kidneys, if they don't get their 100 milligrams a day, they're going to rob the bank. They're going to take it from the bones. So will our brain, which needs 150 milligrams a day. Our intestines need 700. Liver needs 100 milligrams a day. Cha-ching, you add it all up, that's why your doctor thinks you need 1,500. It doesn't really work that way. But that's why they thought you need more, 12 to 1,500 a day of calcium. But your organs do need calcium. If they don't get it, it's going to come from the bones. So you see, it's not a deficiency, it's an imbalance. But the bottom line is, it all funnels down to acid. Because your cause might be one of those things, and your cause might be another one of those things, but everybody's is acid. Everybody get that?
Yep.
All right. I brought you here. It's not a prescription. It's a supplement. It's very safe, very healthy. Those two things your body's trying to make. Calcium, your body isn't trying to make. Your body doesn't know how to make minerals. You're going to have to take it in. You have to. But you want to do it safely. You want to do it effectively. Let's do more about the lactoferrins and the bone health pack, which has the minerals, and it has the lactoferrins, which makes your calcium safe. Now, you could say on the surface it's 500, 600 milligrams. Your body can only absorb 600 at a time. But it's 900 if you're going to be able to do it efficiently. It's 900 if you can use every bit of it. The only way you can use every bit of it is to replace back into your system what it's been really deficient in, even more than the minerals themselves. Your body's been deficient in the lactoferrin, which in response to emotional and physical stress, our body makes so much less of. We need lactoferrins. That's the guidance system. That's what grabs on to the minerals, including calcium, in your gut, and hands it over to the next lactoferrin, which is in your blood, called osteoferrin, and that takes it to the finish line. Now let me give you an analogy so you get this. It's a baton. It's a tube, yeah. Y'all seen that one race that you often see in the Olympics where you see the baton handed off from one runner to the next?
Relay.
Okay, yeah, the relay race. So is it really about the baton, or is it really about the runners? I mean, that baton is never going to get to the finish line without the runners, right? Right? It isn't about one baton being a better baton than the other. And it's about the people getting that baton to the finish line in the right way, fast, efficient. So let's imagine you've got the first baton runner. The runner number one is going to hand us off to runner number two, who's going to take it to the finish line. We figured out how to make the first lactoferrin finally. There's 29 different types of lactoferrins in our body. That's runner number one, who's in your gut, who's waiting to grab on to calcium. Okay? We don't have enough of it. And in fact, to the extent that we have it, its hands are full because it's grabbing on all these toxins. It's a detoxifier. It doesn't have a free receptor. It has its hands full. It can't grab onto the calcium and other minerals that it needs to grab onto because it's grabbing onto everything else that's not supposed to be there. You know you carry around 5 to 25 pounds of toxins in your gut? And some of that ends up in your bones too. So we need more lactoferrins because none of them have free receptors. We need more of them. So it's called runner number one, lactoferrin number one. It's going to hand that baton, the minerals, the calcium, the 900 milligrams of calcium, because now you're going to use every bit of it. Because it's not going to go to bad places, it's going to go to only good places, and it's going to get to the finish line. So the 900 milligrams of calcium is going to get handed off, and that's the calcium, by the way, and other minerals. It's going to get handed off to the next runner, who grabs it and takes it to the finish line, which is the bones, which is the bank, from which your organs can withdraw from the bank. You don't want the calcium to go astray. You don't want it to go to the organs until it's been in the bank first. They can then make their withdrawals if they need to. Does that make sense? We're not talking about this in this way. We're only talking about ingredients. We talk about vitamin D, calcium, but we don't talk about how is it going to get there. Okay? If you include runner number one, lactoferrin, and runner number two, it's called osteoferrin or osteodense, now your calcium starts to work. I start to see the results go up. I test people all over the country. I've been doing this for a long time now. People who do that and they take the lactoferrins with the supplement and they don't go overboard on the calcium, they get better. And they do it safely and they do it effectively. And they're doing it in the way their body is meant to do it. What the pharmaceutical industry does by and large, if you look at every single medicine that comes out, it involves tricking the body. You're always trying to block pathways, biopathways, to have your your physiology go in a different direction. Well, Dr. Naidu invented this formula. He said, you know what? Every time you stray from the natural, you're on your own. You don't know where that exit's going to take you, where that detour is going to take you. He says, repair the highways, replenish. Find out where the divots are, replace the highway, augment the system, find out where the highways are, and repair them. That's called bioreplenishment. Okay? Works on an entirely different principle. So we're trying to augment what the body's already trying to do. Yes? Bicycling, elliptical, don't improve your bone density. Bicyclists have a higher incidence of osteoporosis than the general population does. Your feet have got to hit the pavement. Double your walking. I want everyone out there to double your walking. I know that runners can walk, but I know that not all walkers can run. So I tell everybody to walk. Okay? We're meant to walk. Activity that works, not activity that doesn't work. So specified and clarified, that's the asterisk. Bring the bad stuff down. What are they? Don't smoke, don't do soda, don't do sodium, don't do white table salt. Don't drink a lot of caffeine, don't drink more than 3 cups of coffee a day. Don't drink a lot of alcohol. Okay? And don't eat a lot of meat. Do you have to be a vegetarian? Do you have to be a vegetarian? Probably not, but don't eat a lot of meat. That's an established controllable risk factor for osteoporosis. Your system throws acid at it, and calcium follows. Okay? Don't eat a lot of meat. Okay? C means make your supplements complete. I just told you. Now, get a vitamin D test, find out what your vitamin D level is, take it in accordance with your test. Don't guess. If you're high, you don't need much. If you're low, like 80% of us, you need a lot. Go to the vitamindcouncil.org website. It'll tell you exactly how much to take based on your current result. And don't believe your lab report, by the way. Because if you're between 20 and 33 on your vitamin D test, that's wrong. It just means you're not going to get rickets. That's all it means. Get yourself to 50. Get yourself to 50 so a whole bunch of good things happen to your body. You'd be surprised all the good things that happen in your body once your vitamin D level gets to 50. If it's low, you run a risk for stroke. Okay, complete nutrition. Now you know what nutrition complete means. Take enough vitamin D, don't go overboard on the calcium. Get the runners to carry it there so it starts to become safe and effective. Okay? So that's the ABC. That's the treatment. You don't have to take chemicals.
It's better.
Like, people feel good when they're taking it. All right? See, I hear that kind of story all the time. And what you just said there is what typically doctors don't think is possible. It's not only possible. I see lots of people get better when they do it this way. So don't believe your doctor says you can't get better. And that is possible.
It rebuilds bones.
It does. It makes new bone.
Mm-hmm.
For at least a couple of years, when I was first tested with the DEXA scan, which is the X-ray thing, the X-ray technique, I was substantially down in the yellow, and now I'm in the green.
Very good.
No pharmaceuticals, everything.
Wonderful. And some of these people who are already employing these measures, understand they're not just doing this one approach. They're doing what's called a wellness home. They're employing all these measures to lower your pH, to raise your pH level, to offset acidity with alkalinity. It has to do with the air you breathe, the water you drink. It's called a wellness home. Get with that person, learn a lot more, make your bones new, make your bones young. Yes?
Inflammation.
I'm going to explain something really quick. Do you know what the most powerful anti-inflammatory in the world is? It's not on a shelf, and we haven't figured out how to make it yet. It's something your body makes. It's called interleukin 10. It's not only a great anti-inflammatory, it helps to make other anti-inflammatories. It's endogenous, your body makes it. Safe, nothing safer because your body's making it, okay? That's a powerful anti-inflammatory. Let's say you could up it by 10, 20%. You'd feel terrific because you'd be in a non-inflamed state, and you'd be doing it the right way, the way the body intends. You'd feel great if you could up it by 10 or 20%. Research has shown this ups your IL-10 by 140%. That's why I asked her if she feels good. Because people who are on this, they don't want to go off of it because they feel terrific. They're non-inflamed. Yeah.